Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll show you how to make these school themed cookies. They can be included in sets for the first or last day of school for teachers or school children, future school children. Like, subscribe, enjoy watching. I pre-coated all the cookies with icing. How to do this you can see on my Russian channel. There will be a link to the video in the description. I covered part of the cookies only along the edge, and left the center unpainted. I wanted to show you that you can do this if the pattern completely covers the cookies and you don't need to transfer a complex picture. I also transferred the pictures to the cookies in advance. More precisely, I transferred only the picture of the bell, and I drew everything else myself, using improvised materials. I will show at the end. So let us start with the globe. We circle the part along the contour and fill it carefully. All irregularities can be corrected with an awl or a toothpick. I have icing in the consistency of 20 seconds, but you can use the consistency a little thinner. You can also see more details about icing and consistency on my Russian channel. The description will contain a link to the playlist, where you can also find a video with a cookie recipe, how to transfer a picture to a cookie, and other useful information. To avoid failures in icing, you can use this technique. We make strokes in the center of the part and let them dry, and then fill it with icing and give it a little volume. This will be especially useful if the consistency of the icing is liquid. For this cookie I use the colors blue, brown and green. The next cookie is the school board. For this cookie, I used a figured cutting, but you can make it simply in the form of a rectangle. I outline and fill. Outside the board is made of wood, so it is brown, and the inside is black. Change the black color mono to green, as you like. Next is the bell. We also circle the part along the contour and fill it. I transferred this picture to cookies, but I don't have the image itself, unfortunately. I'll tell you more about it at the end of the video, so be sure to watch to the end. For this cookie color I used yellow and red. On the bow, I also used the previously mentioned technique to create a three-dimensional detail without dips. The bow has many details of the same color. Do not forget that we fill in the adjacent parts when the icing has already seized on the neighboring ones. The next cookie is a pencil. We also draw around the contour and fill it. For this cookie, the colors I used are pink, brown, green and white. Of course, the color of the pencil may be different or even multicolored. And the detail that I made in white can be made immediately gray or gold, as happens on pencils. Next is the palette. Everything is simple here. It is necessary to fill in the cookies and make drops of paint with colored icing. You can use any colors you have. And the next cookie, the simplest one, is a ruler. We make even contours. I drew them under the ruler, and fill them with icing. I have a yellow line. We send cookies to dry. This is how they turned out after drying. Already bright and beautiful. Next, I will paint them a little, but this is not necessary. Especially if you make a lot of these cookies. You can only do a few details. I tint the globe. I imitate the earth with brown dye. Dilute the blue a little with white dye and imitate it with the same clouds. I also tint the brown details a little, make contours and put down highlights. Next, I tint the board. With brown dye I circle the part around the edges and shade it. I make stains on the board itself with white dye, as if it were stained with chalk. With a thin brush with brown dye, I draw lines, as on a cut of a tree, and outline the contours. Next, I make an inscription on the board with white dye, and then I put down highlights. By the way, it's quite difficult to write with a brush. You can practice on paper in advance or make an inscription with a white food felt tip pen. I tint the ruler and the bell with a caramel color dye and draw a strip on the bell with it. I lighten the bow a little with white dye and draw stripes on it. I highlight the contours with brown dye and make highlights with white. By the way, the stripes on the bow can be made not white, but, for example, gold or yellow. It will look, in my opinion, better and the glare will not be lost. On a cookie line, using a regular ruler, I outline centimeters and with a brown dye with a thin brush I draw a scale and numbers, as well as contours. The scale can be drawn with a food marker. I make highlights with white dye. I tint the pencil with green, caramel and pink dyes. I tint the metal part in gray, and then paint it in silver paint from top to core. I draw contours and highlights. The palette is slightly tinted along the contour with gray. I trace along the contour and draw highlights on the drops of paint. These are the cookies I got. I like very much. Board, as I said, it is not necessary to tint with brown dye and draw lines. You can just make white stains, inscription and highlights. Palette, you can only make highlights. Ruler, you can only draw a scale and highlights. Pencil, enough silver paint and highlights. Bell, you can only draw stripes and put down highlights. Globe, you can leave only glare. And I'll tell you how these cookies can be drawn. At the globe, I made a circle with the help of a boat, and draw the rest by hand. I transferred the picture of the bell from the parchment. I still have it from previous years, there is no picture itself and I did not find it. I drew the ruler, pencil and palette myself. I got even angles and lines with the help of a ruler. For the board, I used a figured boat and also drew with a ruler. I made the rounded corners by hand. In the description under the video, I will leave a link to the image of the globe, I found it on the internet, and to the photo of parchment with the image of a bell. Perhaps someone will come in handy. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and find it useful. Subscribe to my channel, there is much more to come. All the best.